The doctors swore he would never walk again. His family believed he spent every night alone in that room. The newspapers called it a tragic accident. But on the very first night, Maya Bennett stepped inside the mansion as Adrian Vale's new caregiver. She saw the paralyzed CEO standing on his own 2 feet for just 3 terrifying seconds. Then he collapsed back into his wheelchair, looked directly into her eyes, and said words she would never forget. "If anyone finds out what you just saw, neither of us will live long enough to regret it." At that moment, Maya believed she had uncovered the biggest secret of Adrian Vale's life. She was wrong. The truth hidden inside that mansion would lead her back to her own father's mysterious death, and force her to choose between justice and the man she would eventually fall in love with. Before we discover how Maya's ordinary life became entangled with one of the most powerful CEOs in the country, let us know where you're watching from in the comments. We love seeing our community grow from all around the world. And if you enjoy emotional stories, unforgettable romance, shocking secrets, and twists you'll never see coming, make sure to subscribe and join the Forbidden Hearts family. A new story awaits you daily. Now, let's go back to where it all began. 3 weeks earlier, Seattle was drowning beneath an endless gray rain. Maya Bennett sat inside her aging sedan outside St. Joseph's Medical Center, gripping a past-due electricity notice in one hand and a rejection email in the other. At 29, Maya had spent most of her adult life caring for strangers, elderly patients, accident victims, people whose families preferred to pay someone else to witness their pain. Yet she could barely afford to care for her own family. Her 17-year-old sister, Sophie, waited inside the hospital for another cardiac evaluation. Since their father's death 6 years earlier, Maya had become caregiver, guardian, and provider. She wore all 3 responsibilities with stubborn humor, even when fear kept her awake at night. Her phone rang. "Please tell me you're calling to offer me employment," Maya answered. The woman on the line paused. "Is this Maya Bennett?" "That depends. Is this about the parking tickets?" "My name is Clara Hughes. I manage the household staff at the Vale estate." Maya straightened. Even people who ignored business news knew the name Adrian Vale, founder of Vale Meridian, a medical technology empire worth billions. He had vanished from public life after a car accident left him paralyzed 18 months earlier. "We received your application," Clara continued. "Mr. Vale requires a live-in caregiver. I never applied to the Vale estate." Another pause. "Nevertheless, Mr. Vale requested you personally." Maya looked through the rain-streaked windshield. "That's impossible. I've never met him. The position pays 3 times your current rate. Medical insurance is included, along with private coverage for one dependent." Maya stopped breathing. She glanced toward the hospital entrance, where Sophie had disappeared almost an hour earlier. "When is the interview?" "Today." The Vale mansion stood on the wooded shore of Lake Washington, hidden behind iron gates and security cameras. Its glass walls and black stone exterior looked less like a home than a place designed to keep secrets from escaping. Clara Hughes, a silver-haired woman with a precise posture, led Maya through silent corridors. "Mr. Vale has dismissed 6 caregivers in 10 months, Clara explained. "Were they incompetent? No. Then why did he fire them?" Clara stopped outside a dark wooden door. "They asked too many questions." Maya smiled uneasily. That might become a problem. Inside, Adrian Vale sat beside a wall of windows, his wheelchair turned toward the lake. At 38, the former public face of Vale Meridian still looked commanding despite the chair. His dark hair was neatly combed, his suit tailored, his expression colder than the rain outside. He did not turn when Maya entered. "You're late," he said. "Your security guard searched my bag twice. He must have found you." Suspicious. He found 3 protein bars and an emergency sewing kit. That proves his instincts were correct. Maya stared at him, uncertain whether he was joking. Adrian finally looked at her. His eyes were sharp, guarded, and unexpectedly tired. "You talk when you're nervous," he observed. "You insult people before introducing yourself. I know who you are, Miss Bennett." The words landed strangely. Maya placed her resume on his desk. Apparently you knew before I did. Someone submitted an application in my name. I had your professional record reviewed. Why? You stayed with the terminal patient for 14 hours after your shift ended. She was afraid. You were not paid. Fear. Doesn't follow a billing schedule. Something shifted in Adrian's expression, but it vanished quickly. The job is demanding, he said. You will follow my schedule, respect restricted areas, and never discuss what happens inside this house. Restricted areas? My office, the East Wing. The lower-level archive. That sounds less like caregiving and more like the beginning of a crime documentary. His mouth almost moved into a smile. Almost. You can leave. I didn't say no. You haven't heard the most important rule. Maya waited. Do not try to save me. She studied the powerful CEO confined to a chair, surrounded by wealth, yet speaking like a man already buried. I'm a caregiver, she replied, not a miracle worker. Adrian signed the contract. Maya began that evening. Within 2 hours, she opened curtains that had remained closed for months, argued with the chef about Adrian's untouched meals, and accidentally triggered the mansion's security alarm while searching for extra blankets. At dinner, Adrian watched her move around the room like a small storm. You are remarkably disruptive, he said, and you are remarkably committed to being miserable. Were you trained to speak to patients that way? No, that's a natural talent. For the first time, Adrian smiled. It lasted less than a second, but Maya saw it. Later, while organizing medication in the upstairs corridor, she heard a heavy sound behind Adrian's bedroom door. She entered without knocking. What happened next left her frozen. Adrian was not in his wheelchair. His hands gripped the edge of a desk. His arms trembled violently, but for 3 impossible seconds the man declared permanently paralyzed stood on his own feet. Then his knees collapsed. Maya rushed forward, but Adrian seized her wrist before she could call for help. Terror, not pain, filled his face as he warned her that anyone who discovered what she had seen would put both their lives in danger. An hour later, Adrian was asleep under the influence of a sedative he had reluctantly accepted. Maya remained in the corridor, unable to silence the questions racing through her mind. Why did the world believe he could not move? Who inside the mansion was he hiding from? And why had he chosen her? She returned to the study, searching for his medical file. The desk drawers were locked, but Maya noticed one had not closed completely. She pulled harder. Inside were no medical records, only an old photograph. The image showed a younger Adrian standing at a corporate event beside a group of engineers. Near the edge of the photograph was a familiar man with kind eyes and a crooked tie. Maya's fingers began to shake. It was her father, Daniel Bennett. On the back, written in Adrian's handwriting, were 6 words. He knew the truth. I waited. Maya remained motionless, staring at the old photograph in her hands. The smiling faces captured at what appeared to be a corporate celebration blurred as one detail refused to leave her mind. Her father, Daniel Bennett. He looked younger, healthier, wearing the same crooked tie he always insisted brought him good luck. Standing only a few feet away was Adrian Vale. Years before the accident had confined him to a wheelchair. But it wasn't the photograph itself that unsettled her. It was the handwritten note. He knew the truth. I waited. The words echoed inside her head like an unanswered accusation. She quickly slipped the photograph back into the drawer after hearing footsteps approaching the study. The door opened. Adrian sat quietly in his wheelchair, his expression unreadable. You've been in here longer than necessary. Maya forced herself to sound calm. I was looking for your medical reports. You were looking in the wrong drawer. His eyes lingered on hers, long enough for both of them to realize they were lying. Neither of them mentioned the photograph. Neither of them believed the other. The following morning began unusually early. At exactly 6 o'clock, Maya entered Adrian's bedroom carrying breakfast. The curtains remained closed. The room felt more like a hotel suite abandoned by its owner than a place where someone actually lived. She crossed the room without asking permission and pulled the curtains open. Golden morning light flooded the bedroom. Adrian immediately frowned. "I prefer them closed," I noticed. "You ignored my preference." "I did." He stared at her. "You enjoy breaking rules. I enjoy sunlight. And if I don't, you hired the wrong caregiver." A long silence followed. Then, unexpectedly, "I didn't hire the wrong caregiver." The sentence caught Maya completely off guard. Before she could respond, Adrian reached for his coffee. His hand trembled, only slightly. But Maya noticed. Years of working in rehabilitation had trained her eyes to observe details other people missed. His fingers weren't simply shaking from weakness. He was hiding pain. Later that morning, Dr. Nathan Cole arrived for Adrian's weekly examination. Tall, composed, and impeccably dressed, Nathan carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had spent years inside expensive private hospitals. "Maya Bennett?" He smiled politely while shaking her hand. "I've heard you're causing quite a revolution around here. Is opening curtains considered revolutionary?" "In this house," Nathan looked toward Adrian. "Sometimes." During the examination, Maya stayed unusually quiet. Nathan tested Adrian's reflexes, his muscle tone, his blood pressure. Everything appeared routine, until Nathan asked Adrian to move his right foot. Nothing happened. Nathan nodded. "No changes." Maya frowned. She had seen Adrian's toes twitch the previous night, very briefly, but she had seen them. Was Nathan lying? Or had she imagined it? As the doctor prepared Adrian's medication, Maya watched carefully. Nathan opened a locked medical case and removed 2 capsules, one white, one pale blue. He handed them to Adrian with a glass of water. Adrian swallowed both without hesitation. 20 minutes later, everything changed. The slight color returning to Adrian's face disappeared. His shoulders stiffened. His hands became noticeably weaker. Even his speech slowed. Maya had witnessed similar reactions before, not from paralysis, from medication. That afternoon, Clara Hughes asked Maya to organize several storage cabinets on the 2nd floor. Most contained blankets, towels, and medical supplies. One cabinet contained dozens of neatly labeled boxes filled with old family photographs. Without meaning to, Maya found herself searching for another picture of her father. Nothing. Instead, she found dozens of photographs where Adrian looked genuinely happy, laughing, traveling, standing confidently beside employees, holding charity events. He hadn't always been the cold, distant man living behind locked doors. Someone, or something, had changed him completely. That evening, Sophie called. "So?" Maya smiled the moment she heard her younger sister's voice. "So what? How rich are these people?" "Rich enough to have 7 fireplaces?" "7, I counted." Sophie laughed. "And the billionaire? He's impossible, so. Handsome? That wasn't the question, so that's a yes." Maya rolled her eyes. "He's arrogant. Stubborn. Rude. And somehow she stopped herself. "What?" "He looks like someone who's been carrying the weight of the world alone." Sophie became quiet. "You sound sorry for him. I'm not. You do. I'm just doing my job. Be careful." "Why?" "When someone is hurting that much," Sophie whispered, "it's usually because they're hiding something." That night Maya couldn't sleep. The photograph, the note, the doctor's strange behavior, Adrian standing, none of it made sense. Unable to ignore her instincts, she quietly walked downstairs toward the medical room. She knew she shouldn't be there, but something inside her refused to let it go. The medication cabinet was still unlocked from Nathan's visit. She carefully removed the same bottle Nathan had used earlier. Inside were dozens of identical capsules, or so they appeared. Maya poured 2 into her hand. Something immediately caught her attention. The capsules had identical labels, but under the kitchen light, one contained a slightly darker powder than the other. Barely noticeable, almost impossible to detect, unless someone was looking for it. Her heartbeat accelerated. Someone had switched part of Adrian's medication. The question was, who? Just as Maya reached for her phone to photograph the capsules, a floorboard creaked behind her. She slowly turned around. Someone was standing silently in the doorway. watching her. The figure standing in the doorway didn't move. For a brief moment, Maya's pulse pounded so loudly she could barely hear herself think. Then the lights flickered on. Adrian Vale sat in his wheelchair, one hand resting calmly on the switch beside the door. His expression revealed nothing. "What are you doing in here?" Maya slowly closed the medicine bottle. "I could ask you the same question. This is my house, and those are your medications." His eyes dropped to the capsules in her hand. "You've been searching through my cabinets. I've been trying to understand why your condition gets worse every time Dr. Cole visits." Silence filled the room. Adrian wheeled himself closer. "You've been here less than 48 hours. And in less than 48 hours, I've noticed things everyone else seems determined to ignore. You think someone is poisoning me. I think someone is changing your medication." He held her gaze for several long seconds before speaking. "You're making a dangerous accusation. I'm making an observation." Maya placed 2 capsules on the counter. "They look identical." She carefully broke one open using a small kitchen knife. The powder inside was almost white. Then she opened the second. The color was noticeably darker. Adrian frowned. "They're supposed to be the same." "They're not," for the first time since she'd met him. Maya saw genuine uncertainty in his face. Not fear, not anger, confusion. The next morning, Adrian said nothing about the medication. Instead, he worked from his home office, participating in virtual board meetings while Maya reorganized part of the mansion. The more time she spent inside the estate, the stranger it felt. There were security cameras everywhere, motion sensors in hallways, doors protected by fingerprint scanners. And yet, the servants behaved as though they were constantly afraid of saying the wrong thing. Whenever Adrian entered a room, conversations stopped. Whenever Maya asked questions, people politely changed the subject. It wasn't simply loyalty, it was fear. Around noon, Clara approached Maya while she arranged fresh flowers in the library. "You should stop asking the staff about Mr. Vale. I'm not interrogating anyone." "They think you are. I'm trying to understand the environment I'm working in." Clara lowered her voice. "Everyone who stayed here long enough eventually started asking questions, and they all left, willingly." Clara didn't answer. She simply walked away. That afternoon, Maya found Adrian sitting alone in the indoor greenhouse overlooking the lake. The room was surprisingly warm, filled with orchids, bonsai trees, and flowering vines climbing the glass walls. She smiled. "I didn't expect you to like plants." "I don't." "Then why keep this place? It belonged to my father." Maya looked around. "You kept it exactly the way he left it." Adrian nodded once. "Some rooms deserve to stay untouched." The sentence carried more weight than he intended. She noticed. "So did your father die recently?" "No." "Then why does it still feel like you're grieving?" He looked toward the rain beyond the glass. "Because some losses don't get smaller." For several seconds neither of them spoke. Then Maya finally asked the question she'd been carrying since the previous night. "Did you know my father?" Adrian's shoulders stiffened. "I knew many people. That's not what I asked." He didn't answer immediately. Finally, "Daniel Bennett worked for one of my companies years ago." "Only worked?" "He was an excellent engineer. You remember that?" "I remember everyone who challenged me." Maya frowned. "My father challenged you?" He wasn't afraid to disagree. She waited, but Adrian stopped there. Nothing more. No explanation. No context. It felt carefully measured. That evening, Dr. Nathan Cole returned unexpectedly. "I forgot an important document yesterday," he explained. Maya watched him enter the medical room. 5 minutes later, he came back carrying nothing. Too quickly. Far too quickly. After he left, Maya quietly walked inside. Everything appeared normal, until she checked the medication bottle. The capsules were different again. Someone had replaced them. Again. Her heart raced. This wasn't a mistake. Someone was deliberately making sure Adrian received a specific treatment. But why? Unable to ignore her instincts, Maya made a decision. The next morning, before Adrian woke up, she secretly exchanged one capsule from the new bottle with one she had hidden the night before. Just one. If she was wrong, nothing would happen. If she was right, she would finally have an answer. Adrian swallowed his medication during breakfast without noticing anything unusual. The next few hours passed quietly. Then something remarkable happened. During physical therapy, Adrian managed to lift his right leg several inches higher than he had the previous day. The therapist froze. "So, that's new." Adrian looked equally surprised. "I haven't done that in months." Maya remained silent. She already knew why. After the session ended, Adrian dismissed everyone else. The room emptied. Only the two of them remained. "You changed something. It wasn't a question." Maya folded her arms. "I replaced one capsule." His expression hardened. "You had no right. I may have just proved someone has been slowing your recovery. You gambled with my life. I may have saved it." The words hung heavily between them. For the first time, Adrian looked less angry than conflicted. He knew she was probably right, but admitting it meant accepting a terrifying possibility. Someone inside his own circle wanted him to remain helpless. That night, Adrian asked Maya to accompany him to his private office. He closed the door himself. "No cameras in this room," he said quietly. "No microphones." She immediately understood. He trusted no one, not even inside his own home. Adrian stared at the fireplace for a long moment before speaking. "My accident." He stopped. "It wasn't an accident." Maya felt the room grow colder. "I've believed that for over a year. Why didn't you tell the police? I had no proof. And now? I still don't." He turned toward her. "But if someone has been changing my medication," his voice became almost a whisper, "then whoever tried to kill me may still be inside this house." Before Maya could respond, her phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. No text, only a photograph. It showed Adrian's medication cabinet, taken only seconds earlier. Beneath the picture was a single sentence: "Stop looking or she'll be next." Attached was a second image. Sophie, leaving her school that afternoon. Someone had been watching her. Maya barely slept that night. The anonymous message stayed on her mind long after she had checked every lock in the mansion and called Sophie twice to make sure she was safe. Fortunately, her younger sister answered with her usual cheerful voice. "I'm fine, Maya. Did anything strange happen after school?" "No. Did anyone talk to you?" "A boy from chemistry asked me out." Maya closed her eyes. "Sophie, I'm kidding. You know I'm serious." "I know." There was a brief silence. "You sound scared." Maya looked toward Adrian's bedroom door across the hallway. "I just need you to promise me something." "What?" "If anything unusual happens, call me immediately. I promise." After hanging up, Maya stared at the unknown number that had sent the photographs. She typed a reply. "Who are you?" No answer ever came. The following morning, the mansion felt unusually tense. Security guards were speaking quietly into radios. 2 additional black SUVs were parked outside. Someone important was arriving. Clara approached Maya while she prepared Adrian's breakfast. "Mr. Vales's brother is coming." Maya looked up. "I didn't know he had one. He doesn't visit often. Do they get along?" Clara hesitated. "They used to." At exactly 10 o'clock, Julian Vale entered the mansion. Unlike Adrian, Julian smiled easily. He was slightly older, impeccably dressed, and carried himself with effortless confidence. Employees greeted him warmly as he walked through the entrance hall. He seemed approachable, almost charming, until Maya noticed something strange. Every smile disappeared the moment he passed. The servants relaxed only after he was gone. Julian found Adrian in the library. "My little brother still refuses to answer my calls. I'm busy. You've been busy for 18 months. I've been recovering." Julian's eyes shifted toward Maya. "So this is the new caregiver." "Maya Bennett," she introduced herself. Julian extended his hand. "I've heard wonderful things." Maya shook it politely. His grip was firm, too firm, almost calculated. "You've adapted quickly," Julian continued. "Apparently my brother hasn't fired you yet." "Not yet," Julian laughed. "That's practically a family record." Adrian didn't smile. Instead, he quietly interrupted. "Maya." "Yes, could you give us a few minutes?" She nodded and left the room. But as she closed the door, She couldn't help noticing how Adrian's posture changed the instant they were alone. He looked uneasy. Hours later, Maya crossed the second-floor hallway carrying fresh towels when she heard raised voices through the partially closed library door. "You can't keep hiding forever," Julian said. "I'm not hiding. That's exactly what you're doing. I know what happened." "No." Julian's voice became colder. You think you know." Maya instinctively stepped back. She hadn't intended to listen. But before she could leave, the door opened. Julian stood directly in front of her. For a second, neither of them spoke. Then he smiled. "Were you looking for something?" Maya lifted the towels. "The laundry room. It's the other direction. I know." Julian's smile never reached his eyes. "I'm sure you do." That afternoon, Adrian asked Maya to accompany him during physical therapy. The rehabilitation room overlooked the lake, where rain gently tapped against the windows. His therapist adjusted the support harness. "We'll try standing again." Adrian nodded. Maya positioned herself nearby. His hands gripped the parallel bars. Every muscle in his body tightened. Slowly, painfully. He pushed himself upward. His legs trembled violently. For nearly 5 seconds, he remained standing, longer than Maya had ever seen. The therapist smiled. "That's progress." Adrian wasn't smiling. He looked frightened. After sitting back down, he dismissed the therapist. "I need a minute." The room emptied. Only Maya remained. "You should be happy," she said softly. "I would be." He looked toward the security camera mounted in the corner. If fewer people knew. Maya followed his gaze. "You really believe someone is watching everything you do?" "I don't believe it." He lowered his voice. "I know it." That evening, Maya found Nathan Cole reviewing Adrian's latest scans inside the medical office. "You look exhausted," the doctor observed. "I could say the same." Nathan smiled politely. "It comes with the profession." Maya hesitated, then decided to ask, "Can paralysis improve this much after 18 months? "It depends." "On what?" "The patient." She studied his face carefully. "What if the patient improves faster than expected?" Nathan closed the medical file. "Then everyone should celebrate, but you're not celebrating." For the first time, his smile disappeared. "You're asking dangerous questions, Maya." "Are they the wrong questions?" Nathan walked toward the door. "No." He stopped beside her. "They're simply directed at the wrong person." Before Maya could ask what he meant, he quietly left the room. Later that night, Maya replayed every conversation in her mind. Nathan had not denied anything. He had redirected her suspicion toward someone else. But who? Julian, Clara? Someone on the security team, or someone Adrian himself trusted? Unable to sleep, Maya walked downstairs for a glass of water. As she passed the greenhouse, she noticed a faint light inside. Adrian sat alone among his father's orchids, without his wheelchair. He was sitting on a wooden bench instead, his legs stretched painfully in front of him. He hadn't noticed her, for the first time since meeting him. He wasn't the powerful CEO. He wasn't the distant billionaire. He wasn't even the patient everyone feared approaching. He was simply a broken man staring at a faded photograph in his hands. A photograph Maya couldn't quite see. Then, he whispered a name. Not Maya, not Julian, not his mother, just one name. Daniel. Maya's heart skipped a beat. Why was Adrian talking to her father, as if he still owed him an answer? Maya remained hidden in the darkness outside the greenhouse. The rain tapped softly against the glass ceiling while Adrian continued staring at the old photograph in his hands. He looked completely unaware that anyone was nearby. His voice was barely audible. "I'm sorry, Daniel." The words carried a weight that didn't sound rehearsed. They sounded like something he had repeated to himself countless nights. Maya instinctively took one small step forward. The wooden floor creaked. Adrian immediately slipped the photograph inside his jacket. "Maya." She stepped into the light. "I couldn't sleep." Neither could I. His voice had returned to its usual calm, controlled tone. "You were talking to someone?" "No, I heard you." He looked away toward the rain. "You heard what you weren't supposed to. For several long seconds, Maya considered asking about her father. Instead, she chose another path. The photograph. Adrian's jaw tightened. Was my father, wasn't it? He didn't deny it. He worked for me. You've said that before. It's the truth. It isn't the whole truth. Silence. The kind that only exists between two people carrying the same secret from opposite sides. Finally, Adrian spoke. One day. His eyes never left the rain. I'll answer every question you have. Why not today? Because today. He forced a bitter smile. You'd walk away. Before Maya could answer, Adrian carefully reached for the wheelchair beside the bench. She instinctively moved to help him. I can manage. No, you can't. His expression hardened. I don't need pity. She crouched beside him. This isn't pity. Their eyes met. It's trust. For the first time since she'd entered the mansion, Adrian allowed someone to help him without resisting. The following morning felt strangely peaceful, almost too peaceful. Maya prepared breakfast while Clara organized the day's schedule. Nathan Cole was expected to arrive after lunch. Julian had already returned to downtown Seattle. Everything appeared normal, until Adrian quietly spoke while reading the newspaper. I need you to do something for me. What? When Nathan gets here. He folded the paper. Watch him. You think he's involved? I don't know. You don't trust him. Adrian looked directly at her. I don't trust anyone. Nathan arrived precisely at 1 o'clock. Professional as always. Calm. Courteous. He reviewed Adrian's physical progress with unusual attention. I've noticed improvement. So have I, Adrian replied. Nathan smiled. That's encouraging. Yet Maya noticed something else. Nathan wasn't looking at Adrian. He kept glancing toward the security camera mounted above the fireplace, almost as if he wanted to make sure someone else was watching. During the examination, Nathan asked Maya to bring additional medical supplies from the storage room. As she entered the hallway, she heard footsteps behind her. Nathan had followed. He quietly closed the storage room door. We need to talk. Maya immediately became cautious. I thought we already were. Nathan lowered his voice. You've been asking questions. That's my job. No. He looked directly into her eyes. It isn't. She crossed her arms. Then whose job is it? Nathan hesitated. For the first time since meeting him, he looked genuinely nervous. Do you trust Adrian? The question surprised her. I work for him. That wasn't my question. She didn't answer. Nathan sighed. I've known Adrian for nearly 15 years. And I know something you don't? What? Nathan glanced toward the closed door, then back at Maya. He didn't hire you because of your qualifications. Her heartbeat quickened. I figured that much. He hired you. Nathan stopped himself. Because of your father. Maya's breathing became shallow. What does my father have to do with Adrian? Nathan opened his mouth, but before he could answer, someone knocked on the storage room door. 3 slow knocks. Nathan immediately stepped away. His face returned to its usual calm expression. We'll finish this conversation another day. He opened the door. Clara stood outside. Everything all right? Nathan smiled politely. Perfectly. That evening Maya couldn't stop thinking about what Nathan had almost revealed. Adrian had hired her because of Daniel, not by coincidence, not by recommendation, deliberately, which meant he had known exactly who she was before she ever walked through the mansion doors. Every conversation, every look, every carefully chosen answer. Had Adrian been watching her long before she accepted the job? After dinner, Maya found him alone in the library. The fire crackled softly inside the stone fireplace. She closed the door behind her. We need to talk. Adrian slowly put down the book he wasn't really reading. I suppose we do. Did you know who I was before Clara called me? He remained silent. Adrian, yes. The single word landed like a stone. You knew. Yes. You chose me. Yes. She felt anger rising. You've been lying to me since the first day. I've been protecting you. I didn't ask for your protection. No. He stood, or rather shifted slightly forward in his wheelchair. But your father did. Maya froze. My father, he came to me. Adrian's voice became distant, almost haunted. A long time ago. What did he want? He wanted me to do the right thing. And did you? Adrian closed his eyes. For several painful seconds, he said nothing. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. No, the room fell silent. Before Maya could ask another question, a loud crash echoed from somewhere upstairs. Both of them looked toward the ceiling. Then came another sound. Glass shattering. Adrian immediately turned toward Maya. That's not the wind. A security alarm suddenly roared through the entire mansion. Red emergency lights began flashing across every hallway. Then the house went completely dark. In the silence that followed, a woman's terrified scream echoed from the second floor. The scream echoed through the mansion with such desperation that for a brief second, everyone froze. Then instinct took over. Servants rushed into the hallways. Security guards shouted over their radios. Emergency lights continued flashing red across the walls, while the backup generators struggled to restore power. Maya's first thought wasn't about Adrian. It was about Sophie. She pulled out her phone. No signal, not even one bar. What happened? She whispered. Adrian immediately wheeled himself toward the hallway. The security system automatically blocks outside communication during a lockdown. She stared at him. Why would anyone build a house that cuts off phone signals? His expression darkened. I didn't. The second scream came from the east wing, the one place Adrian had forbidden Maya to enter. Without thinking, she ran. Maya! Adrian's voice followed her down the corridor. Don't go there. She ignored him. By the time she reached the end of the hallway, 2 security guards were already forcing open a bedroom door. Inside, Clara Hughes stood beside a shattered window, breathing heavily. I'm fine, she insisted before anyone could ask. The window. One of the guards looked outside. It exploded inward. No. Clara shook her head. It was open from the outside. The guard frowned. That's impossible. This is the second floor. Exactly. Which meant someone had climbed onto the balcony. Or someone had already been inside the mansion. Within minutes, the emergency generators restored the electricity. Every monitor in the security room lit up simultaneously. Dozens of surveillance cameras replayed the previous 5 minutes. Hallways, entrances, the garage, the gardens. Nothing. No intruder. No broken fence. No suspicious movement. One by one, the recordings showed empty corridors. Until Maya noticed something. Wait, she pointed toward one screen. Play that again. The technician rewound the footage. Camera 17, second floor corridor. The hallway remained completely empty, except for one brief flicker, less than a second. A shadow crossed the camera, then disappeared. The technician zoomed in. Static. Camera malfunction, he muttered. Maya wasn't convinced. Can you enhance it? I'll try. The image sharpened slightly, still blurry, but one detail became visible. A silver watch, nothing more. No face, no body. Only the sleeve of a dark jacket, and an expensive silver watch. Maya immediately remembered where she had seen it before. Julian. An hour later, Adrian dismissed everyone except Maya. The mansion had returned to an uneasy silence. Broken glass had been cleaned. The alarm had been reset. Yet neither of them believed the danger had passed. You think my brother came here tonight? Maya hesitated. I think someone wearing the same watch appeared on the security footage. That's not proof. No. She looked toward the dark window. But it's something. Adrian remained quiet. Finally, he spoke. Julian inherited our father's watch. So did I. He slowly rolled back the sleeve of his shirt, around his wrist. An identical silver watch. Maya felt her stomach tighten. So anyone in your family could own one?
Exactly.
The clue she had been so certain about suddenly meant almost nothing. The following morning brought unexpected visitors. Members of Adrian's executive board arrived for an emergency strategy meeting. It was the first time Maya had seen the famous CEO surrounded by the people who helped run his billion-dollar company. Despite sitting in a wheelchair, Adrian dominated the room. He spoke calmly, precisely. Every executive listened without interruption. For nearly 2 hours, Maya watched a completely different version of him, confident, commanding, unshakable. It was difficult to reconcile this man with the lonely figure she had seen apologizing to Daniel's photograph only the night before. When the meeting ended, one executive remained behind. A woman in her early 50s. Elegant, confident, she introduced herself before Adrian could. Olivia Mercer. She extended her hand toward Maya. "I'm general counsel for Vale Meridian, the company's attorney." Olivia smiled. Among other things. As Adrian left the room to take a private call, Olivia studied Maya with unusual curiosity. "So," she folded her arms. "You're Daniel Bennett's daughter." Maya's heart skipped. "You knew my father?" "Very well." Hope immediately replaced caution. "Then maybe you can tell me." "I can't," Olivia interrupted gently. "But I can tell you something else." She leaned closer. "Your father wasn't afraid of powerful people. He taught me that. He also made enemies because of it." Maya waited. Olivia's expression suddenly became serious. "If anyone tells you Daniel died because he asked too many questions." She paused. "Don't believe them." "What do you mean?" Olivia looked toward the closed conference room doors. "He died." Her voice dropped almost to a whisper. "Because he already knew the answers." Before Maya could ask another question, Adrian returned. Olivia immediately changed the subject. "We'll continue this another time." She smiled politely and walked away. That afternoon, Maya drove into downtown Seattle to buy supplies for Sophie. For the first time in days, she felt something close to normal. She stopped at a neighborhood bakery her father used to love. The owner still recognized her. "Maya." Mrs. Reynolds hugged her warmly. "It's been too long. I've been busy. Your father always said that." The words caught Maya off guard. "You remember him?" "Of course." Mrs. Reynolds disappeared into the back room. Moments later, she returned carrying a small cardboard box. "He asked me to keep this." Maya blinked. "What?" "If anyone ever came asking questions." The older woman gently placed the box on the counter. "I was supposed to give it to you." Maya stared at the faded handwriting across the lid. "For Maya. Only when the time is right." Her hands trembled as she carefully lifted the cover. Inside, there was only one object, an old cassette tape. Attached to it was a handwritten note. "If Adrian Vale is still alive, play this with him, never alone." Maya's heart pounded. Her father had written those words years before he died, which meant Daniel Bennett had always expected Adrian to survive, even before the accident ever happened. As she stood frozen in the middle of the bakery, her phone vibrated. An unknown number. This time, there was no photograph, no threat, only a single message. "Don't let Adrian hear the tape. He doesn't deserve the truth." The cassette felt heavier than it should. Maya sat inside her car, parked in front of the bakery, unable to take her eyes off the faded handwriting. "If Adrian Vale is still alive, play this with him. Never alone." She turned the tape over several times. No date, no explanation, nothing but her father's unmistakable handwriting. Her fingers instinctively reached for the old portable cassette player stored in the glove compartment. Daniel had loved old technology and had refused to throw it away, even when everyone else switched to digital. She almost pressed play. Almost. Then she remembered the note. "Never alone." Daniel had been a careful man. If he had written those words, he had a reason. Maya closed the player and started the engine. Back at the Vale estate, the mansion felt strangely quiet. Too quiet. She found Adrian in the greenhouse, carefully watering one of his father's orchids. He looked up as she approached. "You've been gone longer than expected. I stopped somewhere. I can see that." His eyes immediately noticed the small cardboard box in her hands. "You found something." She didn't answer. Instead, she placed the box gently on the wooden table between them. Adrian stared at the cassette, his face lost all color. For several seconds, he simply looked at it, almost as though he were seeing a ghost. "Where did you get this? A bakery?" He frowned. "A bakery?" My father left it there. Adrian slowly sat back in his wheelchair. His breathing had changed. You shouldn't have brought it here. My father wanted us to listen together. He specifically wrote that. She handed him the note. His hands trembled as he read it. When he finished, he closed his eyes. I haven't seen his handwriting in 6 years. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Outside, rain gently struck the greenhouse roof. Finally, Maya broke the silence. What happened between you two? Adrian stared at the orchids. I admired your father. That's not enough, he challenged me. You've said that before. He refused promotions because he believed someone needed to stay honest. Maya almost smiled. That sounds like him. He was the only employee who ever walked into my office without asking permission. What did he want? The truth. His answer came so quietly that Maya almost missed it. And did he find it? Adrian looked away. I don't know. It was another incomplete answer. She could feel it. Every conversation with Adrian ended the same way. He gave her just enough truth to keep her asking questions, never enough to understand the whole picture. Maya picked up the cassette player. I think we should hear it. Adrian immediately shook his head. Not here. Why? He looked around the greenhouse. There are too many people. We're alone. We're never alone. His certainty sent a chill through her. You really believe someone inside this house is watching us? I stopped believing months ago. What changed? I caught them. Maya froze. You caught who? He looked toward the ceiling. The cameras. Before he could continue, a gardener entered carrying fresh fertilizer. Adrian immediately fell silent. His expression became unreadable once again. The conversation was over. Later that evening, Maya found herself wandering through the mansion's enormous library. She wasn't searching for books. She was searching for peace. Instead, she found Olivia Mercer. The company's attorney stood beside one of the shelves reading an old legal journal. I had a feeling you'd come in here. Maya smiled politely. Do I look like someone who reads legal books? No. Olivia closed the journal. You look like someone trying to understand impossible people. Maya laughed quietly. That's surprisingly accurate. Olivia studied her for a moment. You're beginning to trust Adrian. It wasn't a question. I'm beginning to understand him. Those aren't the same thing. Maya leaned against the bookshelf. Can I ask you something? You can. Was Adrian always like this? Olivia smiled sadly. No. What changed him? The accident changed his body. She paused, but guilt changed everything else. The word lingered between them. Guilt? Olivia immediately realized she had said too much. Forget I mentioned it. I can't. You'll have to. Before leaving the library, Olivia turned back one last time. If Adrian ever decides to tell you the truth. She hesitated. Listen to everything before judging him. Then she disappeared down the hallway. That night, Maya couldn't stop thinking about one word. Guilt. Not anger. Not revenge. Not fear. Guilt. Everyone around Adrian seemed to describe the same man, but from completely different angles. Nathan looked afraid. Julian looked defensive. Olivia looked sympathetic. Clara looked protective. None of them described Adrian as evil, only broken. Near midnight, Maya quietly walked toward Adrian's office. A thin strip of light escaped beneath the door. He was still awake. She knocked softly. Come in. Adrian sat at his desk reviewing old documents. Stacks of folders surrounded him. Financial reports, engineering files, newspaper clippings. It looked less like a CEO's office, and more like someone investigating a crime. You don't sleep much, Maya observed. I sleep enough. No, you don't. He almost smiled. You've started sounding like my mother. I'll take that as an insult. It wasn't intended as one. She placed the cassette on the desk. We can't keep avoiding this. Adrian stared at it, then slowly nodded. Tomorrow. Promise. I promise. She believed him, for the first time. She truly believed him. As Maya turned to leave, her eyes caught something pinned beneath a paperweight, a newspaper clipping. The headline read, Local engineer dies in highway accident. She immediately recognized the photograph. Daniel Bennett. Before Adrian could hide it, she noticed something written in blue ink across the margin. A single sentence. This wasn't the first life my silence destroyed. Maya looked at Adrian. He looked back at her. Neither of them spoke, because for the first time, the question was no longer whether Adrian knew her father. The question had become infinitely more terrifying. What exactly had Adrian remained silent about? The office fell into complete silence. Maya's eyes remained fixed on the newspaper clipping resting beneath Adrian's hand. This wasn't the first life my silence destroyed. She didn't ask what it meant. Not immediately. She was afraid of the answer. Adrian slowly folded the clipping and placed it inside a drawer before looking back at her. You weren't supposed to see that. I've heard that sentence too many times since I came here. He sighed. I know. No, you don't. For the first time, Maya's voice carried genuine disappointment instead of curiosity. Every answer you give me creates 3 more questions. I've been trying to protect you. She shook her head. No. Her eyes filled with emotion. You've been deciding what I deserve to know. The words hit Adrian harder than anger ever could. He lowered his head. You're right. Another silence followed. Long, heavy. Finally, Adrian spoke. Tomorrow morning. He looked directly at her. We'll listen to your father's tape. No interruptions. No lies. No half-truths. He nodded. No more. For the first time since they had met, Maya believed he truly meant it. The next morning arrived unusually bright. Seattle's rain had finally stopped. Sunlight spread across the lake outside the mansion, making everything seem strangely peaceful. Almost as though the house itself was pretending nothing had ever happened. Maya prepared breakfast while trying to ignore the knot in her stomach. The cassette rested inside her backpack. By noon, everything could change. At exactly 9:30, Adrian entered the dining room. He looked exhausted, as though he hadn't slept at all. You ready? Maya asked quietly. No, she almost smiled. Good. He looked confused. I wasn't ready either. For a brief moment, they laughed. It was the first completely genuine laugh either of them had shared. Then Adrian's phone rang. The screen displayed only one word. Mother. He immediately declined the call. Seconds later, it rang again. Then again. Then again. Maya frowned. She seems persistent. She usually is. Are you going to answer? No. Instead, Adrian switched off the phone entirely. I don't want any interruptions today. They decided to use the old music room. It had thick walls, no surveillance cameras, and an antique cassette player that had belonged to Adrian's father. Maya carefully inserted the tape. Her hands trembled. So do yours, Adrian observed. He was right. Neither of them wanted to admit it. She pressed play. Static filled the room. Then Daniel Bennett's voice, calm, warm, exactly as Maya remembered. If you're listening to this, Maya immediately closed her eyes. Then something has already gone terribly wrong. Her throat tightened. I hope I'm wrong. A long pause followed. But if I'm not, Daniel inhaled deeply. Adrian, I'm trusting you one last time. Maya looked at Adrian. He stared at the floor, unable to meet her eyes. Daniel continued. You once told me that every difficult decision has a price. I think you're about to discover yours. The tape crackled, then suddenly stopped. The player began spinning silently. No sound. Nothing. Maya stared at it in disbelief. What happened? She removed the cassette. The magnetic tape inside had been cleanly cut, not broken. Cut. Someone had opened it. Someone had removed the rest of the recording. Her breathing became shallow. It was complete yesterday. Adrian carefully examined the cassette. His expression changed immediately. This wasn't done recently, you can tell. The plastic is old. He looked up. The tape was cut years ago, which meant someone had intercepted Daniel's message long before Maya ever found it. The recording they had just heard was all that remained, or all someone had wanted them to hear. Neither of them noticed the library door opening. Olivia Mercer stood quietly in the hallway. She had heard Daniel's voice, not the words, just the voice. When Maya explained what had happened, Olivia's face became pale. I remember this tape. Both Maya and Adrian turned toward her. You've seen it before? Olivia nodded slowly. Years ago. When? The week before Daniel died. Maya's heart raced. He told you about it? No. Olivia hesitated. He asked me to hide it. The room became silent. But I refused. Why? Because I believed. She swallowed hard. That Adrian had the right to hear it. Adrian looked stunned. I never knew. You weren't supposed to. Olivia looked ashamed. I've regretted that decision for 6 years, before anyone could continue. The mansion's front door slammed open downstairs. Raised voices echoed through the entrance hall. Julian. He had returned unexpectedly. Within seconds, he entered the music room without knocking. You need to see this. His face had lost every trace of its usual confidence. He handed Adrian a tablet. Security footage filled the screen. Maya leaned closer. The timestamp showed the previous night. The mansion's archive room. A figure dressed entirely in black quietly entered using an access card. The person's face remained hidden beneath the hood. But as the figure turned, a familiar bracelet slid out from beneath the sleeve. Olivia gasped. No, Maya looked at her. You know whose bracelet that is? Olivia slowly nodded. I gave it to Evelyn. She could barely finish the sentence. 20 years ago. The room fell completely silent. Adrian stared at the screen in disbelief. His own mother had entered the archive in the middle of the night, and she had never told anyone. No one spoke. The image on the tablet seemed almost impossible to accept. Frame by frame, the surveillance footage showed a hooded figure entering the mansion's underground archive shortly after 2 o'clock in the morning. The person's face never became visible, but the bracelet did. A delicate platinum bracelet with 3 small emeralds. Olivia Mercer didn't need a second look. I bought it for Evelyn's 40th birthday, she whispered. It's one of a kind. Julian stared at the screen. That's impossible. It isn't, Olivia replied. I'd recognize it anywhere. Adrian replayed the footage several times. His mother entered the archive. She stayed inside for 14 minutes. Then she left carrying nothing, or at least nothing visible. What exactly is stored in the archive? Maya asked. Adrian locked the tablet. My father's records, financial documents, some medical research, some... She looked directly at him, and everything connected to Daniel Bennett. Adrian didn't answer. That was answer enough. An hour later, Adrian made a decision. No one tells my mother we saw this. Julian frowned. You seriously think she's involved? I don't know. Then why hide it? Because if she's innocent... Adrian's voice remained calm. Warning her helps no one. And if she's guilty... He looked toward the window. Then she's already expecting us to make a mistake. For the rest of the afternoon, the mansion returned to its strange routine. Staff moved through the corridors as if nothing had happened. Lunch was served precisely at 1. Gardeners trimmed hedges. Housekeepers polished silver. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Maya had begun to understand something about the Vale estate. The more dangerous things became, the quieter everyone acted. Later that day, Adrian asked Maya to accompany him to the archive. Unlike the luxurious rooms upstairs, the basement felt cold and forgotten. Rows of steel shelves stretched into the darkness. Thousands of boxes, decades of documents, family history, corporate history, secrets. Adrian unlocked a heavy metal cabinet using both a key and a fingerprint scanner. Inside were dozens of folders labeled with years. He immediately reached for one marked 2019, the year Daniel Bennett died. He opened it. Half the files were missing. Maya frowned. Were they stolen? No. Adrian slowly closed the folder. They were removed deliberately. When? I don't know, but someone did. His eyes drifted toward the security camera above the doorway. Maybe last night. As they continued searching, Maya noticed something unusual. The dust on one shelf had recently been disturbed. Everything else carried years of neglect, except one small wooden box. She reached for it. Wait. Adrian's voice stopped her. Don't. Too late. She had already lifted the lid. Inside, there were no documents. Only a small brass key and a folded piece of paper. Maya unfolded it carefully. 3 handwritten words appeared. Lake house, fireplace. She looked at Adrian. What does this mean? His face went completely pale. I thought it had been destroyed. What? The lake house? Maya had never heard Adrian mention another property. He slowly explained. My father owned a cabin 2 hours north of Seattle. You still have it? I haven't been there since. He stopped. Since before the accident. Why? It holds too many memories. Maya studied him carefully. Were you and your father close? Her faint smile appeared. He taught me everything. It doesn't sound that way. The smile disappeared. He also taught me how to keep going after making the wrong decision. Those words lingered in Maya's mind. Again, the wrong decision. Again, the same invisible guilt. That evening, while Adrian attended a virtual board meeting, Maya called Sophie. I need to ask you something that sounds serious. It is. Okay. Do you remember Dad ever mentioning a lake house? Silence. Then, once, Maya immediately sat upright. What did he say? Not much. Sophie tried to remember. I was little. Anything, he said. Another pause. That if something ever happened to him, the truth would never stay buried forever. Maya felt a chill. Are you sure? I'm sure. What else? He said there was one person he still believed in. Maya held her breath. Who? I don't remember. You don't? No, Sophie sighed. I wish I did. That night Adrian knocked on Maya's bedroom door. I've decided. About what? We're going to the lake house tomorrow. She wasn't expecting that. You really think we'll find something? I think. He looked down the hallway to make sure no one was listening. Someone went into my archive because they were afraid we'd eventually go there. And if it's a trap? He smiled faintly. Then at least we'll finally know who's setting it. Before sunrise the next morning, they prepared to leave. Only Clara knew they were going. No security team, no driver, no one else. Julian believed Adrian was attending a private medical appointment. Evelyn hadn't been informed at all. It was the first move Adrian had made in months without anyone in the family knowing. As Maya loaded the last bag into the SUV, something caught her attention. A black sedan was parked nearly half a mile down the road, partially hidden behind pine trees. Its engine was running. The windows were completely tinted. She couldn't see who was inside. Adrian. He looked up. What? I think we're being watched. He followed her gaze. By the time he turned, the black sedan quietly pulled away. Neither of them noticed that another vehicle had already started following them from the opposite side of the road. Someone knew exactly where they were going, and this time, they intended to get there first. The notebook slipped from Maya's trembling hands onto the cabin floor. Neither she nor Adrian moved to pick it up. The silence between them was heavier than any accusation. Daniel Bennett had trusted Adrian Vale. Not because Adrian had always done the right thing, but because Daniel believed he still could. Maya looked at the man standing a few feet away. For the first time since entering his life, Adrian wasn't hiding behind confidence, money, or carefully chosen words. He looked exactly like what he was. A man who had spent 6 years punishing himself for one moment of cowardice. Before either of them could speak, 3 loud knocks echoed through the cabin. No one waited for an answer. The front door burst open. Several armed private security officers entered first, spreading through the room with military precision. Behind them walked Evelyn Vale, elegant, perfectly composed, as if she had simply arrived for afternoon tea. Her eyes immediately found Adrian. I was hoping we'd get here before you opened the box. Maya instinctively stepped between Adrian and the notebook. You've been following us. Evelyn smiled. I've been protecting my family. You call this protection? I call it necessity. Adrian slowly stepped forward. No more lies, Mother. For the first time in years, he wasn't speaking as her son. He was confronting her as a man. Evelyn sighed. I tried to save you. You tried to control me. I've tried to preserve everything your father built. You destroyed everything he believed in. Her expression finally hardened. You still don't understand. She looked directly at Maya. Your father was a good man. Maya's heart tightened. He also would have destroyed thousands of innocent employees by exposing everything overnight. My father wanted to save lives, and I wanted to save all of them. The room fell silent. For the first time, Evelyn truly believed she was right. She hadn't acted out of greed. She had acted out of fear. Fear of losing her husband. Fear of destroying the company. Fear of watching the Vale family collapse. One terrible decision had become another, then another, until there was no way back. Adrian quietly removed the USB drive from the lockbox. "You came for this. Give it to me." "No. It belongs to this family." "No." His voice became firmer. "It belongs to the truth." One of the guards stepped forward. Before anyone could move, another voice interrupted. "Nobody touches him." Everyone turned. Clara Hughes stood in the doorway. Not alone. Behind her came Olivia Mercer, Nathan Cole, Julian Vale, and 2 detectives from the Seattle Police Department. Evelyn stared in disbelief. "What have you done?" Julian answered. "What Adrian should have done years ago." Nathan stepped forward first. "I altered Adrian's medication." Maya looked at him, but never because I wanted to. Nathan lowered his head. "I was threatened." Olivia spoke next. "I helped hide documents." Julian followed. "I moved company funds to conceal illegal settlements." Each confession felt like another piece of a puzzle finally falling into place. Then Adrian looked at the detectives. "I delayed the recall." His voice broke. "I believed I could fix everything before anyone got hurt." He looked toward Maya. "I was wrong. No one forced me to stay silent. No one forced me to wait. I did that. And Daniel Bennett died because I believed there would always be another day." The cabin remained completely still. No excuses, no justification, only truth. One detective reached for the USB drive. Adrian stopped him. "Not yet." He connected it to an old laptop sitting on the cabin table. The screen flickered. A video began. Daniel Bennett appeared, alive, smiling. "If you're watching this," he looked directly into the camera. Then Adrian finally found the courage I always believed he had. Maya covered her mouth. Daniel continued. "If I never make it home, don't waste your lives chasing revenge. Build something better." He smiled softly. "Maya." His daughter's tears fell freely. "Take care of Sophie and Adrian." Daniel paused. "The hardest prison isn't built from concrete. It's built from regret. So when the truth finally comes, don't survive it. Use it." The recording ended. No one spoke. Even Evelyn closed her eyes. Over the following weeks, everything changed. Adrian voluntarily surrendered every document to federal investigators. The board removed him as CEO. Vale Meridian's shares collapsed. Executives resigned. Victims' families finally received long-denied compensation. Nathan cooperated with prosecutors. Olivia remained only long enough to oversee the company's restructuring. Julian testified against his own mother. Evelyn accepted arrest without resistance. As officers placed handcuffs on her wrists, she looked only at Adrian. "I really thought I was saving you," he answered quietly. "I know. That was what made it tragic." 6 months later, the mansion overlooking Lake Washington stood empty. Its gates remained open for the first time in decades. Adrian no longer lived there. He had moved to a modest lakeside home not far from the old cabin. The expensive suits had been replaced by simple sweaters. The endless meetings had been replaced by physical therapy. Every morning he forced himself to walk a little farther than the day before. Not because he had to, because Daniel had been right. Redemption required courage. One autumn afternoon, Maya arrived carrying a small wooden frame. Inside was the photograph she had first found in Adrian's desk. Her father, younger Adrian, both smiling. She placed it beside him. "My father believed people could become better." Adrian looked at the picture for a long time. "I've spent years wondering whether I deserved forgiveness." Maya gently took his hand. "Maybe forgiveness isn't something we deserve." He looked at her. "Maybe it's something we choose to live worthy of." A quiet smile appeared on Adrian's face. Not because everything had been repaired. Some wounds never disappear. Some losses never stop hurting, but for the first time in many years, neither guilt nor fear would decide who Adrian Vale became next. Together, they walked slowly toward the end of the wooden pier. His steps were still uncertain. Without saying a word, Maya slowed hers to match his, and for the first time, neither of them looked back. If Adrian and Maya's journey touched your heart, let us know in the comments. Do you think Maya made the right choice by giving Adrian a second chance? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to Forbidden's Hearts and turn on notifications so you never miss our next unforgettable romance. Thank you for being part of our journey, and we'll see you in the next story.